So I have access to some pretty awesome people in this space, and we wanted to start doing at least a monthly sort of chat with these people who can hopefully help you guys run certain things in your gym, or just maybe highlights from our own community and interviewing some of the affiliate owners and ask them how they're doing, what they're doing well, what they think they could do better, things like that. Now this first one that I'm doing is I wanted to talk to some people who work in the high-priced online subscription service space. So a lot of us are thinking about doing a hybrid gym model, and I think there's people who've done this really well, and I think there's people who are just trying to make a dollar. But I know some people who run Working Against Gravity. It's a good friend of mine, Mike, and his wife, Adee, and it's actually her company that he came on to. And it's a high-priced nutrition program for basically doing macros or really anything that you want. And I'll let them describe exactly what that is on the call. But essentially, I interviewed him and asked him what it means to be successful in a higher priced, subscription-based online service. How do you build those connections? How do you make those work? I also asked him just some stuff that I think would help anybody who's running a service that's like that. And it doesn't need to be in nutrition, it just needs to be in like human-to-human contact. And I think that I said human-to-human contact in the digital space, which is a very unique place. So they had some fantastic insight. So this first one is going to be with those two, and I hope you enjoy it. Hopefully we'll do some more of these. Unfortunately, the video was really screwed up because I have the slowest internet speed in existence, so I'm just going to take the audio. So after this, it'll cut to the audio, and it'll just be kind of the wave forms on the interweb. So you guys can just listen to the audio and get it from there. Enjoy, and this is Mike and Adee Cazayoux. The name is spelled funny. Why don't you guys tell me kind of who each one of you are and your backgrounds and what you currently do and your titles, just so I kind of have that as something to jump from, if you don't mind. And you can keep it a Cliff Notes version if you want.
Okay, Cliff Notes. I am Adee Cazayoux, and about me, I live in Austin, Texas. I'm about to have my first child, and with my husband we run an online nutrition coaching company called Working Against Gravity, which started in 2014 from a blog originally that I created, and we help people achieve any nutrition goals that they have in their life, whether that's lose weight, lose fat, gain muscle, perform better, or have a better relationship with food. And we do this all completely digitally. We've built a team of around 35 employees over the past 6 years, and that's what we do with our time right now.
And then I'm Michael Cazayoux. I'm also about to have my first kid. And I am a 2-time CrossFit Games champion on the team side of things. I was on a team called Hacks Pack in 2012 and 13. After that, I started a business called Brute Strength, who many of you may have heard of. I was the co-founder of that company, and I was with Brute for about four-ish years. Mm-hmm. And another kind of side project that I had while I was doing that was I was a part of starting what is now called Fitness Culture, which is an online training company kind of in the bodybuilding space. And then about 2 years ago, maybe coming up on 3 years ago, I made the decision to join Adee so that we could lead Working Against Gravity together.
Awesome. So you have pretty decent backgrounds in this general space, I think, and you've both been incredibly successful running online programs, both in the fitness as well as in the nutrition. And I think what's interesting too is both you guys have run higher price ones. I think a lot of people right now go for like lower priced volume models where it's like $19 a month. We're looking for thousands of members. It's really kind of a very general thing, or it's all automated. And you guys have run really kind of personalized, higher priced versions of these. Adee, yours grew like really organically from like out of nowhere, right? You just started the blog and then it kind of went from there into one-on-one coaching, right?
Yeah. So I started, it was in 2014 where I think fitness and Instagram were kind of on the rise. It was like a great fitness does really well on Instagram in general. And I was sharing there. I was also sharing on the blog. And I had a number of people just reaching out to me asking for help. And once I got them results, they kind of told their friends and they told their friends, and it just grew. There wasn't a lot of options in functional fitness / Olympic style weightlifting space for what we offer right now. Now there's tons of options, but at the time there was almost none. What we do was more prevalent in the bodybuilding space.
Right. So what did your initial delivery system and like the process look like compared to what it looks like now? Like in terms of how that all goes down, just like the logistics.
The logistics were so dramatically different that honestly, when somebody tells me that they were a member from 2014 or 2015, I almost cringe a little bit. I'm like, oh man, I swear we're better now. We're so much better. But at first it was like the basic beginning. We had an email account called workingagainstgravity@gmail.com, and people would email that, and we would set them up with a PayPal link. It wasn't even a recurring PayPal link. It was just a one-time PayPal fee. And then we would send them a Word document. It wasn't a PDF or anything. That just had a questionnaire. And they would fill it out and send it back with some photos of themselves. And we had a recurring day that they were supposed to email, but there was no way to hold them accountable to that day. They really could email any day when they would check in with us and let us know how their nutrition program was going. And I had a couple people helping me. And it would really be anybody who was available to answer the emails at the time would go into the email and answer them. It wasn't, nobody was assigned to a coach. There wasn't we didn't have really any type of structure then. It was really kind of like fly by the seat of your pants. And then slowly, it started getting more professional. And it went from, instead of being an email @gmail.com, it was @workingagainstgravity.com. We got slightly more professional. Everyone got their own email. Clients got assigned to specific coaches, and we got people on a PayPal subscription button instead of just a single one-time fee that I had to keep. I had notes on my iPhone where I kept people's expiration dates, and I would look at it every week or so and hope that they would pay again. And then now we have a built for you software. So one of our clients in 2015 was a super fan, and he builds software, and so he asked if he could build us a software that helps us manage all client-coach communications. I agreed when I had no idea what that actually entailed, and now we're here 5 years later. We have a fully functional software that houses all of that communication, makes things much easier, stores data in a unique way, as well as allows it so that we can hold people accountable to what days they actually communicate with their coach to formally check in on their nutrition programs, and it provides a better experience for the staff and the clients. But it's evolved a lot.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like the actual delivery and the communication has evolved like tenfold. But what do you think made the initial program of Working Against Gravity successful? In terms of its growth as a business, as well as its your ability to actually work with individuals, because even on a very rudimentary level, you were very successful. So what do you think? And like, do you think there was something that you're doing then that you're still doing now that I don't know, what do you think it is, even though the delivery's changed?
Yeah. I think right at the beginning. I personally have always had a tendency to care more about the results of the client and the experience of the client versus trying to be as big as possible. So there was always this relationship with the clients of getting feedback, what's working well for them, what do they like about it, what do they not like about it. Getting them results was absolutely the number one priority. And I feel like once people start getting results, they tell everybody around them, and that kind of created the word of mouth that really helped us be successful at the beginning. And that's still true to this day. Like, we still evolve constantly, listening to our members and our clients of what's working for them, what do they like. And then we also have clear expectations, or not necessarily clear expectations, but clear standards on how we're going to communicate with clients. Like, you're going to get a communication from us within 24 hours, no matter what. And that's been true since day one. I had worked with a coach before starting Working Against Gravity where he said he had a 24-hour response time, and he actually took sometimes between 4 and 5 days to answer me. And it was so frustrating that I had just made this like commitment that no matter what, every single communication is answered within 24 hours. And I think that it gave us good boundaries between clients and the business, and also built a level of trust. Like, these people are actually trying to improve. These people really do want to develop a good service. They really do want to help us. And I think that's been true since then to now, but I don't know if that's a good answer.
That's a great answer. I think I can add something as well.
That's a fantastic answer. Yeah, fantastic answer. Go add there, Mike.
After doing that for years, I think that we have a reputation. There are certainly some people that don't like us and that didn't have a good experience. We've worked with over 20,000 people, but I think the vast majority, we have a reputation with them that we are trying our best. We're humans. If we make a mistake, we will correct it, and we are honest. And I think and they also know we're not trying to scam them. I think by showing up consistently over years and years of doing good work and really giving people our attention and treating every one of their obstacles or issues with us as serious and acknowledging them, I think that has just granted us a really great reputation.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely piggybacks on exactly what she was saying, of just really caring about the results and the experience that people were having, and giving people what they needed to hear that and feel that. And I think really clear communication, like you were saying, listening to feedback, like those are all fantastic things. A question for me is, what you've now have 35 coaches, and you've probably had some come through that didn't work out as coaches. But what do you think makes a good online coach? What do you think makes what's the type of traits that a person who's a good online coach would have? Because I know for me, like, I probably would be a shitty online coach, and I don't know if it's maybe I just think that, but I mean, I really do care about people. It's just, I don't know if my persona could wrap its head around being a fantastic online coach. I don't know. I've never done it, but that's my perception of me. But I see people who are really good at it. What do you think those traits are, and what do you look for when you're hiring?
So one thing that has always been consistent with WAG is that we only hire coaches that have been former WAG members. So I think one of the things that makes a good coach in any industry is it should be someone that has been personally touched by the type of service that they want to deliver. So that's why a lot of times the best therapists for people in recovery are former addicts. People that are the best nutrition coaches are people that have transformed their own lives through nutrition. I think that's one of the foundational pieces. Another interesting thing that we found is we give all of our coaches a test called the Kolbe A test, which tests your conation. And your conation is basically how you like to get work done. It's a $50 test. It's one of the most useful things, one of the most useful personality tests we've ever taken. And the most common thing that we've seen is that our coaches have high follow through and pay high attention to detail. So they're willing to do research, and they're willing to just have a really high attention to detail. On the other hand, I have a very high what's called quick start, as do you, Pat. And that means we can get things going really quickly. We're super high energy at the beginning of projects, but we don't necessarily like finishing things all that much. Our coaches are the type of people that will stick with their members with the same level of enthusiasm for years, and they continue to give them every bit of presence and attention as they would right when they signed up. That may not always be the case, but that's the type of people they are. And one more thing I'll add before Adee adds some more is that our coaches, our best coaches, are not trying to like always have the right answers. They're willing to be wrong. They're willing to allow their clients to lead a little bit. And their goal is to help build their client self-esteem rather than their own.
Yeah, I think that's all 100% true. And anything I would add is that a really good online coach is incredibly patient, and it's not the type of environment where you're going to get this immediate feedback like when you're with someone in person. Being with someone in person, you get this gratification of the reaction on their face or how they respond to the things that you're saying. And it's very different when you're working with somebody completely online. You don't get that gratification the same way. So you have to be patient to wait and to develop some level of confidence or way to know, I'm doing the best that I can. And all of our best coaches are incredibly kind, incredibly compassionate, and we're definitely not the type of people who are the drill sergeants of the world, especially in something as vulnerable as fitness and nutrition, where somebody's coming to you because they want to change something about themselves, they're unhappy with where they are, and they want to be in a different place. We use a lot of patience, a lot of kindness, a lot of compassion, and we definitely drop the hammer sometimes, but it's less often.
I mean, dropping the hammer is totally necessary sometimes. And I think that's listening to people and hearing what they need. And some people need the hammer dropped. But I think what I have a hard time with understanding is there's so much of my levels of empathy come from seeing how someone reacts to me, right? So when I do something, I see how they react, and then I go, okay, I got to be different than that. And you don't get that in a digital interaction quite the same way. Are there things people can look out for or do as coaches to make sure they're maintaining those connections in the digital space, either through word or the way they connect, or like what are the things people can look for to try to get those connections? Is it a questionnaire? Like I don't really know.
I think there's a few things. Like one, you're definitely not getting like the same cues that you're talking about working with somebody online versus working with somebody in person. But what actually can come from working in a more anonymous, I guess, space is that you can get a lot of vulnerability from people that you wouldn't necessarily get in person. Sometimes when you're in front of somebody, you're not as willing to share everything that's going on with you. There's some people that are more comfortable sharing in a more anonymous space, and they might give you more information. And what we like to do is ask a lot of questions. I think you're actually the person who taught us the Ford model, the family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And you gave that talk to our staff, and we use that a lot of ask about these things. And in order to develop a relationship, like remember the names of their kids and mark that as a note. We have opportunity to take notes on clients in our software, and those notes can show up when a client's checking in as important, like the names of their kids or a vacation coming up, or asking them questions and really getting to know them. And sometimes it actually can get deeper in a written context than it can in a face-to-face context. And we also we really do create like a judgment-free zone that way, where we really enforce with our coaches that judgment is not okay. There's not only one right way to do things. Stay open-minded, be flexible, and that's a lot of the way that in the language that we use to talk to clients.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I didn't even think about that just because it's so different from how I am. The fact that some people are able to produce more vulnerability when it's in the written word and they have some time to think on it, and they can really kind of flush out what they want to say. Like that's a really good point. Those I guess would be some of your more ideal members then, right? Like the type of person who's going to come and do what you do and stick with it for a long time. When you're looking for that type of a member, it's somebody who is willing to be vulnerable in that space, right?
I wouldn't say they have to be, but yeah, they tend to do even better. There are certainly people that need very little hand holding that join our program, that are very data driven, that don't love to give a lot of information, but they really thrive on tracking the data and then having the accountability of a coach, just like knowing there's a coach that they have to check in with.
And they don't want to spend the time. Like they don't want to have the time of scheduling meeting somebody in person. They like the convenience of, this is online, I get to check in at any point in this 24-hour period, what suits my needs. I send in very little, I get exactly what I need back, I see the data. There's those people too who just, they don't want the empathy and the interaction that you're getting in person that you're talking about. They just kind of, it's like some people who don't like to talk on the phone and they just want to text. It's like that person does well on our program too.
Right. That's a super good point. So how do you find those people? Like what's the method for finding the type of person who's going to thrive in this environment that you guys use?
That's a great question. I think that it's done through marketing in terms of continuing to post messages and send emails and make social media posts about kind of what we stand for. For instance, we're usually not talking about like very sciencey type things. We believe more that the behaviors and habits that people instill in their lives are more important than the exact number of macronutrients that they're eating. And so after doing that over a period of time, we start to attract people that think the way that we do and see the world the way that we do, or are just attracted to that way of being.
Right. I like that. So when people come and pay the amount of money that they pay for your program, and I think you guys have kind of famously never discounted what you do, right? Gotcha. So people are coming and they're expecting a certain thing, right? And what do you think makes someone, A, willing to spend the type of money required to do your program, and B, what makes your program worth it? And I think I'd love for you to answer this, Mike, both from like the fitness perspective as well as the nutrition perspective, because you worked with Brute for so long. What makes a program, what makes a high-priced online interaction worth it?
I think results.
I think Adee over here said results, and I definitely agree with that. And I think like underlying that, and like most importantly, is with a higher priced or higher ticket product or service, you can afford to spend more and give people more attention. The reason that CrossFit was so successful, has been so successful for so many years, is that people get so much attention versus the Gold's Gym model. They get a coach that's going to give them feedback several times per workout. There's also the community aspect and kick-ass workouts, but they're getting so much, hands-on or focused attention. With Brute, with WAG, we charge premium prices because we want to be able to afford to pay our coaches enough money so that they can check in with them weekly. They can have a very focused check-in weekly, but also respond to messages all week long. If we're just charging $49 a month and we have 10,000 clients at a time, we're not going to be able to, like, the coaches just don't have time to give people a real quality service. So from the get-go, both of us independently decided that we wanted to be premium brands. We wanted to have the highest quality service so that we could actually get people the best results. I really think the thing that would get people the absolute best results is have someone follow them in person every single day. Eat this, don't eat that, slap something out of their hand, and let's say that costs, $10,000 a month. Well, if we can't be there to slap the food out of their hand, then what's the next best thing and the next best thing? And this is where we landed.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's like like you said, I mean, you have to have a good product with results, but how do you get those results? And it's through that attention and by charging the higher price, you just make sure that you're able to fund the people who can give them the attention. So what is it that you guys do to make your coaches, feel valued, and like, what does that look like?
Yeah, we for compensation, we think about how much time people are spending. We get like hard data on how much time it takes to coach an actual client, and how much time that people work full time a week, which is roughly 40 hours a week. And then we look at the standard like nutrition coach or registered dietitian and how much are they making per hour, or what is their salary, and then we compensate our coaches accordingly to what is most we want to be competitive within that environment, and we're going to do that along with offering them, like, compensation is not just how much money you're making in terms of salary. Compensation also involves freedom of place and time, like they get to work online on their computer from anywhere they want. They get personal development budgets from us, tech budgets. They also get to work in an environment that they like, hopefully. And so, I mean, paying somebody $3 an hour is just like not an option in our minds.
Yeah, I feel like the simplest answer for CrossFit gyms or gyms is just pay them the same amount per hour as you're paying them to coach classes, but then just get really clear about how much this new online service actually takes them. And that might mean the business owner, the gym owner, has to do that service for a period of time themselves to really figure it out.
Right. So have some like hands-on knowledge of what that all takes. And what would you say? How many clients can a single coach have in your guys' space? Because I know it's going to be different from space to space, but how many? I mean, I assume it's like similar to a normal coach, where some coaches can coach 10 people and some coaches can coach 40. But what would you say is the average number of clients that a person can successfully manage?
What we do is we have really made that process as efficient as possible. So our coaches are doing nothing but coach. They're not doing anything administrative. They're not doing any client acquisition, payments, nothing. They're just going. No scheduling, nothing. They log into their dashboard. They know exactly what work they have to do. They go in, they do the work, and they leave. So on average, it's taking, for each client, it takes roughly between 15 and 30 minutes per week per client. So a client will take around an hour to 2 hours a month. And so we don't actually have full-time coaches anymore, like somebody doing 40 hours a week of straight coaching people straight, but the math on that would be around 150 people. We don't do that anymore, just because we were realizing that people would just get burnt out doing the same thing so consistently. So now we only have coaches that are doing multiple responsibilities, like they're coaching people as well as doing marketing or social media or whatever. But on average, our coaches are between like 50 and 100 clients.
And do you think that's, so like you were saying, 15 minutes to 30 minutes a week, do you think that's realistic in the fitness space, Mike? Or in terms of those kinds of check-ins?
I think if you're doing personalized programming for fitness, it's going to take quite a bit longer. The beauty about nutrition is like, well, I don't know. It's usually just communicate. You're just writing words to people. You're not creating a custom meal plan every time. With fitness, you're creating new workouts every single week or every single month specifically for that individual. And if you want to do a really good job, then I know from experience that just takes more time, unless you're using some sort of technology that has, pre-written programs that you kind of just adapt a little bit. But in my experience, it's always taken quite a bit longer for fitness programs.
So say you're doing a general program, that's the one that's at your gym, and then you're just kind of like checking in with them and having that little accountability. It kind of sounds like you would be able to manage more people and have basically it's like an accountability buddy. It's like, how did the week go? What were you feeling, blah, 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 and like have those little interactions. It sounds like if it was more general, that you might be able to have a higher volume of people with a single individual.
100%. 100%. And there are so many different apps out there that will allow you to communicate with people to make it, to like streamline it. yeah, if you're not creating custom programs, I think you could handle quite a bit more people.
And then what would make those interactions successful? Because we were talking about, building the levels of intimacy and being open to stuff and looking for vulnerability. And so what do you think would make those shorter interactions something that people would want to be a part of and be willing to spend $150 a month on, $170, whatever it is? What would make that truly valuable if it was, Or do you think it would be truly valuable? You could say no too.
Yeah, I think that it's so valuable to give people a space to clarify what they want in life, what they want in a specific area of life even. So a lot of people, they think about their fitness and they're just like, I just want to lose a few pounds. I think one way that coaching is very valuable is allowing people to get more detail on what they really want in fitness. They might want to lose 5 pounds or whatever I just said because they want to be able to sign up for a race, or they want to be able to play with their kids more often. And so again, one area that's super valuable is helping them clarify goals. And then the weekly communication, I think, becomes valuable when you can allow them to see their progress working towards their goals, and give them a space to bring up any obstacles that are getting in their way of reaching those goals, and just like giving them strategies and solutions.
And 100% the most valuable thing about these interactions is just the accountability. Having somebody that is checking in on you, that actually cares for majority of human beings, that alone is going to get people more results. Just knowing that somebody is actually watching and is going to, if our clients don't check in with their coaches, our coaches are going to reach out and be like, hey, what's going on? Where are you at? How can I help you? What can I do? They're going to have those interactions, and it just automatically keeps it top of mind for people. And that accountability and the ability to have a space to reflect on how they're doing keeps their attention on where they want to get results.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a big part of this is setting up and taking results deeper. Like you're saying, is like, oh, you want to do this? Well, why do you want to do that? And then basically making it so you get to kind of the root of what their results are, and they're chasing that bigger goal. And basically teaching coaches how to do that would probably be a good idea, eh?
I mean, and not even just the bigger goals. Sometimes people don't really want the goal that they think they want. Like, we get so many people that come to us and say, I want to look like Brooke Entz. And when we really get down to it, they don't really, like, maybe it would be nice if they could snap their fingers and all of a sudden they look like Brooke Entz. But then you talk to them about the reality of, in order to look like Brooke Entz, you need to put aside 10 to 15 years. And you need to be diligent with your nutrition the entire time. You need to train this way. And then it's possible that your genetics actually won't have you look anything like that, but you'll be more muscular, leaner, and you'll be that version for yourself. And then people are like, oh, I have to do all of that. Actually, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to pick a new goal. And it's what a relieving and freeing feeling to be able to let go of goals that you don't actually want to achieve. I think coaches can do a good amount of work there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Huh. Good stuff. You guys have answered like pretty much everything that I've ever wanted. Now I'm gonna ask one more kind of selfish question for you. So say you have a client that you're dealing with in this space that pays for accountability, and then you're like reaching out to them and they're like not reaching back, or they don't like stay accountable. Like how far do you take it in terms of like driving over to their house and pulling them out and making them do the stuff? Or like how far do you really take it, and what do you think holds somebody more accountable who's not good at being accountable?
This one's really tricky. We like play with our beliefs and thoughts on this pretty often, because we've had experiences where people there's like one side of it where people actually just want to pay for something so they feel like they've checked a box, which therefore means they should get results. Like, I paid for this thing, I should be getting results, right? Like, they don't understand they actually have to do the thing that they paid for. So there's that aspect of it. And those people, if they stop checking in, we call them, we text them, we email them, we are continuing to try and reach out in as many ways as we possibly can. Versus like we can't drive up to their house, that's not a thing. But at the gym, they're going to come to do a workout at the gym. You can pull them aside and ask them to have a conversation, and we get progressively like more direct. Like, hey, I don't want to keep taking your money and you not actually doing this. Is this something you really want to do? And asking them, like, how can I help you or support you? Or how can I get you more? Like, what is it that we need to adapt about the way that we're interacting that makes it easier for you? So we'll do that. And then eventually it's just like, we're going to cancel. We don't feel right about continuing to take someone's money that's really just like not invested. At a certain point, we're going to cancel. The reason why we won't do it sooner is we've had experiences with people that are just going through a really hard time, and having the reminder, like we send reminders that you need to check in with your coach, and having that reminder has actually kept them like they were going, like maybe a family member had passed away and they'd really put their fitness and nutrition on the back burner. And then seeing the weekly email, like check in with your coach, reminded them that they're going to get back to it. And when they came back and we were just like, we're so happy to have you back, and they started checking in with their coach again, they felt like they weren't abandoned, and we're so grateful that we had stayed, you know, and they knew that space was always there even though they weren't using it. So it's kind of tricky. I mean, I think that's a little bit of an art of use your intuition, use your own discernment, like how are the interactions feeling? And then what feels right to you is probably the best way to go.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, that's all I have for you. I mean, I really appreciate you guys coming on and chatting. Is there any advice you'd like to give somebody starting up, like anything that just comes to mind of like, hey, when you start up your own online thing, don't do this? I mean, there could be nothing, but is there anything that jumps out at you as like, we tried this, totally failed? Like, is there any pitfalls?
One of them is I would beware of trying to compete with the really cheap online fitness models, not models like people, but online fitness programs, because there are hundreds, if not thousands, of other options for people at very low price points that have been in the game for a really long time. They've made a bunch of money doing it, so they probably have like really great software and like they have a great product. And trying to compete for those against those people is, I've just never found to be a great idea. Those are also the type of people that are going to complain the most. They're going to ask for the most amount of discounts. They're going to cancel the most. And we know that they lead to the least amount of results. It's like, giving someone a gold gym membership is not really setting them up for success. Having a really cheap, low contact fitness program is also probably not going to get them great results. The other one is, this took me a really long time to understand, and my beautiful wife taught this to me, is keep it really, really simple in the beginning. So rather than having 5 different tiers or 5 different options for people, maybe just start out with 1 or 2 and get really, really great at those. Rather than having 20 different features, try just nailing 3 features. Try just nailing the simplest form for people at first, and then if you want to expand.
Yeah, it's the quote that I always come back to is, it's easier to add things than it is to take things away. So whenever you're starting something, start with as basic as humanly possible. And you're going to hear people being like, I wish you could offer this, or can you offer this version? And I would actually just like not compromise on what you're offering at the beginning. Like, this is what we offer. Once you start making little compromises and customizing things for a bunch of people, you're just creating so much work for yourself, and you also can't really get the feedback on what's working and what's not working. And you can't take it away, because once you take it away, the person's upset that like, you used to offer this and now you don't, now I'm mad about it. So just keeping things really simple, and that also includes automation and software. We've made a bunch of mistakes where we moved into some type of software too soon, and it didn't work out perfectly for what we needed, and then switching out of a software is very, very painful and difficult. So just Keep things simple. Don't automate too quickly. Do things even though it's super manual at the beginning and it takes you a bunch of time, you learn a lot of lessons from doing all of that extra work. Like, oh, we could do it this way, or that software wouldn't work for us because we have this nuance to the way that we do things. But you can't discover that if you move into a software too quickly. That software is built not for your business. Your business has to adapt to the software. So I would be like really patient at the beginning with making things more complicated.
I want to add one more thing that seems important. Right now, a lot of members at brick and mortar gyms I think they really care about the gym owner and the business owner, and so they're doing things in the short term that I don't suspect they'll be willing to do in the long term. So they're continuing to pay the same membership for a much different service. And at first, if you start to create an online presence, an online programming option, an online gym option, you may get a decent opt-in rate. And my gut tells me that in a year or 2 or 3, that kind of goodwill could run out. And so if you really want to do the whole online thing, then you have to learn the skills of the trade. You have to learn online marketing. You have to learn, the softwares that Adee is talking about. And you have to, because now you're going to be competing with the people that have been growing online fitness companies for many years. At some point, I think people are going to just shop around and find the best thing to fit their needs, and they may not be willing to pay the same amount for an inferior service. So you've got to be willing to really compete with everyone else.
Yeah. Thank you. That's great. That's all I have, guys. I really appreciate you jumping on and sharing your wisdom.
Dude, we love you. It's great to chat with you, and hopefully this was helpful to some people.